Sometimes soft, sometimes powerful. K-pop music trends change rapidly, driven by listeners' tastes and cultural trends. That's also reflected in the recent Netflix animation hit KPop Demon Hunters. Now, for more on the K-pop music in this film and the fast-changing K-pop industry trends, we are now connected to our expert Claire Marie Lim, music technologist, artist, and faculty member at Berklee College of Music. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, Soa. Hi, Bella. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show with us today. Now, Claire, it's almost hard to tell whether HUNTR and the Saja Boys are real K-pop idols or not, as the K-pop groups from the animation musical film KPop Demon Hunters have conquered the Billboard charts, and you can hear people sing along to Soda Pop and Golden, just like Bella did before, now all around the world. So, Claire, do you feel the KPop Demon Hunters phenomenon around you?
Yes, absolutely so. And that was a great rendition, by the way, Bella. But yeah, I remember the very first time. Yeah, I remember the very first time that I saw K-pop Demon Hunters on Netflix, and I immediately thought the show seemed super interesting. Later on, when I was browsing on the internet, I actually realized that a number of the people involved were colleagues in the industry who I had encountered before. So I was really excited. And when I watched the film, I was completely blown away. I enjoyed it so much. And I think what speaks to how big of a phenomenon this all is many of my friends and contacts in the industry and in academia who don't usually follow K-pop, they love the show too, and they were reaching out to me to talk about it. So this was the perfect project for a lot of them to get even more familiar with K-pop.
Wow. So who is behind this, hit soundtracks that we're all addicted to? And how have these creators kind of led this song to such success?
Yeah, so the short answer is many active and experienced K-pop songwriters, producers, and artists were involved, and I think that directly relates to how successful the songs were. I would say that the songs were able to connect with a wide audience really well, and for multiple reasons. So, of course, the songs were able to function within the plot of K-pop Demon Hunters as a movie, and that helped to move the story forward, which I think is similar to a lot of hit songs from other musicals. In general, like Wicked, for example, just to name a recent movie adaptation. But the songs are also fantastic as standalone pieces. Topically, they speak to universal themes like self-esteem, personal growth, breaking free, forgiveness, which are very relatable. And they are produced in a way that mirrors a lot of current K-pop, where you've got hard, punchy tracks that are delivered really confidently, but you've also got some more laid-back, introspective moments with softer notes from R&B. And then again, you also have just some straightforward, cheerful, and fun pop dance tracks. So going back to the question of who's behind it, it takes a lot of skill to do all that I just mentioned, and I think that's where the songwriting and production team really deserves a huge amount of credit. So many years ago, I actually got to know Ije, who is one of the songwriters on the soundtrack, at an event for artists in New York that I was also attending. And she's the singing voice of the character Rumi in the show as well. But she's such a prolific musician and vocalist who's been actively making K-pop for years for artists like aespa, Twice, Red Velvet, EXIT. And that was the case for a lot of the other songwriters and producers involved also.
Right. And Claire, I really have to agree with you on that. The songs, they are also really standalone hits, because I actually listened to the songs first before I got to watch the movie. So that really shows that these are really K-pop songs that you would listen to on a daily basis.
Definitely. It's stuck in our heads. And speaking of these songs, there's a number of Korean lyrics actually involved in these songs, including Golden or Soda Pop and many others. What impact does this Korean lyrics have on the viewers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the Korean lyrics are an important part of the appeal. And even if it's just a few lines, they really help to keep the songs rooted in the K-pop identity, even when the group is, in this case, animated, or if the audience is global, as it has been with this Netflix distribution. And it's funny, because in the past, a lot of K-pop fans who are international, they would be used to singing along to Korean parts in K-pop as a part of the experience, even if they don't speak the language fluently. So I do think it creates a sense of connection to Korean culture and the roots of K-pop.
I find it very interesting that we have a lot of K-pop artists who have a little bit of English in their lyrics. So that's usually kind of 80% Korean, 20% English. But here we see the other way around happening because it is an American production. We have around 80% English and 20% Korean. So I found that part very interesting. Now, going more into the Korean part of that movie, Maggie Kang, the Korean-Canadian director of the film, did mention that she didn't want this to become a kind of traditional musical movie, but rather one that has real K-pop music that speaks to the K-pop fans. So what are the elements that made the songs real or authentic K-pop?
Yeah, so apart from the overall authenticity and spirit that I think the producers and writers brought with their firsthand K-pop experience, like I mentioned just now, there were a couple of elements that did stick out to me as really K-pop in nature. So for example, in terms of musical genre or even subgenre, the styles of all of the songs on the soundtrack can be found in current K-pop, which I think is great. So for example, a song like Takedown with a halftime breakbeat groove and influences from trap and bass music, that has a really similar sonic palette to songs by Blackpink or NCT 127 or Baby Monster, and even KDA, which is the virtual girl group from League of Legends, and a song like Soda Pop that has a 4-on-the-floor groove with influences from house music, dance music, as well as bubblegum pop. That is really similar to tracks that have been released by BTS and Twice and Astro, just off the top of my head. Something else that also struck me was the melodic top line and the composition of the songs. I really appreciated the vocal arrangement and the attention to group dynamics, which I say were crucial to K-pop. So in both HUNTR and Saja Boys, which are the two idol groups in the films, their songs would have line distributions to showcase the members getting different parts that would suit their roles, like lead vocalist or main rapper, and that's just like an actual K-pop idol groups.
Wow, those are the elements that kind of, make it seem like a little bit more real K-pop. And we can actually see a variety of K-pop styles within the film, just like the real K-pop world as well. There are styles that dominate others more, like the easy listening songs were very popular before. So please tell us about this trend as well.
Yeah, sure. So in the context of K-pop, easy listening tends to refer to songs that have an overall smoother and more relaxed feeling to them. Or even if they're more on the upbeat side, they tend to be more cheerful and positive. So some prominent examples could be songs that tend to come from groups like New Jeans and To Us. I've noticed that these songs often have retro influences too, such as from older genres like UK garage or synth pop, which were popular and rising in the 80s and 90s. And that can also give these newer songs a more nostalgic edge. So in tandem with the positive vibes, that can really make for some great tracks that are easily played on repeat.
And Claire, if I'm correct, that was especially very popular last year. Now, it looks like now hard listening is becoming a thing again. So could you define that for us as well? And why would people like to listen to hard listening if it really means that it's hard to listen to the song, if that is part of that definition?
Yeah, sure. So hard listening in K-pop, now that often refers to songs that are bolder and energetic, like you noted. So it's usually a bit harder in style with a powerful drum groove and usually heavy bass from a production standpoint. So groups like aespa, Stray Kids, Cat's Eye, they have many songs that fall into this category. But as for why people are listening to it, I don't think hard listening necessarily went away completely, like it died out. And the same goes for easy listening. But between these sides of the spectrum, I think there's always a desire for some variety amongst audiences, and these trends will kind of come and go with the times. But at the same time, I think we can't exclude the influence of social media. With the rise of short form content on TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, content in general needs to hook listeners in the very first few seconds if you want good audience retention. So for hard listening songs that have a catchy hook, that's where they excel. And it's not to say that easy listening songs can't do this, but I do think that a lot of hard listening songs have been specifically designed to inherently have flashier, bolder movements in sound and in choreography and in visuals. So all of that collectively is really great at capturing attention and making an audience want more of something very quickly.
Well, I have to say I like to listen to easy listening songs and hard listening songs, like a mix of it on a daily basis, have that mix on my playlist. But Claire, who creates those trends and why is this changing so rapidly? And does this actually have an impact on the K-pop groups? Because maybe some might worry that the identity of a K-pop group could change if they have to always adapt to these trends.
Yeah, in terms of trends, it's hard to pinpoint who exactly, is in charge of them. And that's because music trends usually originate from a combination of factors. So for example, there could be new music making technologies that make music creators experiment in certain ways, like the initial rise of autotune back in the day. But there could also be general cultural shifts in society or across the internet, which could collectively draw us to certain types of genres or aesthetics. And of course, we also have to think about the overall creative evolution of an artist or a group over time. So all of those factors could be reasons. But as far as how quickly trends are changing, again, I do have to go back to social media and the internet. I think they have a part to play. Content creation and consumption moves at such a fast pace now that I do think there is a pressure for artists to chase trends. And it's also that they can keep up with having songs that perform well and can sustain careers. So like you mentioned, so I think it's difficult. It can be exciting, but it can also be stressful. And, in the frenzy of trying to adapt to musical trends, it can be hard for some K-pop artists to have a very clear sonic identity. So ultimately, I think that's one of the biggest challenges today that many K-pop artists are facing. This balance of trendiness, yes, but also staying true to your artistry and being musically authentic.
A lot of tasks ahead for all of those K-pop groups and also the fans. I mean, the fans have to be really quick to, for their challenges, when they have those dance challenges, a new song comes out and they have to put those reels, those short form videos of their favorite K-pop group onto their social media. So everything's moving fast, but I'm happy that we have all those diversity of K-pop songs with us. And thank you very much, Claire, for your insights, and have a great rest of the week with a lot of K-pop music.
Thanks, same to you as well.
Thank you. And thank you, Bella, as always. So we're going to see you back tomorrow.
Yes, I'll see you back tomorrow.